Love looks like when he gets back. Because Kevin Love, as the best player on a Minnesota team, was mistakenly taken for a top 5 player in the NBA by many. Then, as the third best player on a Cleveland team, was mistakenly considered a bum by many. Neither one of those things is true. I'm curious to see what he looks like as the second best player on a team with LeBron James. If that is an all-star caliber player, maybe we should recalibrate, but we haven't seen that yet. What we've seen is LeBron James with a squad that's much closer to the original Cleveland squad that he dragged kicking and screaming to a finals than to any of the squads he's had since then that have made finals runs. This is a squad without much talent. They have a lot of rotation pieces. They have a lot of pieces that could be in rotations on championship teams. But they have very few starters. In fact, the only real starter is LeBron, and then when Kevin Love gets back, Kevin Love. And everyone else, if they're a starter, then the other two guys better also be really good. Everyone else is like a bubble starter on that team. And so then you look at the Raptors. Now, the Raptors, they're winning by a lot usually because they're a top 5 offensive and top 5 defensive team. And Masai Ujiri, the GM of Toronto, who did a brilliant job in Denver and then has done the same thing in Toronto, in the absence of an MVP caliber player, apologies DeRozan, constructs these teams that go 10, 11 deep and can run other teams out the gym. Ujiri and Danny Ainge, that's the real battle in the East for years to come, the two brilliant GMs. Toronto is live. The issue I have with Toronto is when the going gets rough in games late and close, they for some reason revert to hero ball and ISO Lowry and ISO DeRozan a lot. And they go 1-on-3, 1-on-4, which is always a bad idea, but particularly when your heroes aren't quite heroic enough. As good as DeRozan is, as excellent as he is, he's not quite LeBron James. So the answer is maybe more like what I just said it is with the Rockets and the Warriors, given what LeBron has to work with so far. Not whether Toronto can knock off the King, but can the King get past Toronto might be the better question.
Well, listen, here's the thing that I think everybody has to pay attention to. Are the Toronto Raptors live? Yes, they are. But here's the reason why. The reason why I feel that way is because not only has DeMar DeRozan improved his shot, but also they're big and they're willing to play big, which to me, LeBron James, if you remember when I talked about this, and I mentioned this a couple of days ago, Jalen, I said the reason why LeBron should be so dominant in the East is because that LeBron will ultimately turn into a post player and dominate. But I said against everybody but Toronto, he can dominate in the post against Boston. He can dominate in the post against various other teams, Washington, for example. But going up against Toronto with Ibaka and Valanciunas down there, it may be more difficult. So the question is, the LeBron James that's hitting 37% from three-point range, the LeBron James that has been hitting his threes as of late, can you rely upon him to do that in the postseason? Because he needs the ball and he needs space in order to do his thing. And if other guys can't step up against a top 5 defense, which Toronto is this year, then it's going to be incumbent upon him to take over. And when he's at his best is when he's hitting his perimeter shots. Is he going to do that in the postseason, and can you rely on it? I believe so. I believe Cleveland's coming out of the East. But what makes Toronto live is that, unlike against anybody else, it will be required of LeBron James to do that in order to pull off beating Toronto this year, because he doesn't have Kyrie like he did last year. He doesn't have that showstopper that you can just hand the ball to and move out the way. It's going to take team chemistry, movement of the basketball, space as well. All of those things are going to have to contribute to Cleveland's success unless LeBron James just goes ballistic. That's what's going to be required against Toronto. No other team requires that from LeBron in order to beat them.
The Toronto Raptors have been terrific this year. Having a #1 seed, no one can say they truly predicted that they would have a better record than Boston or Cleveland at this point of the season. It's been remarkable. And as you mentioned, Stephen A., the improvement of DeMar DeRozan, he was always a 20-plus point scorer that could get to the free throw line, was a mid-range maven, but now he can shoot the three-point shot, which has truly unlocked his game. You talked about Ibaka. You talked about Valanciunas. Van Vliet hit a big shot last night. The key for the Toronto Raptors, however, when they've gotten into the playoffs the last 5 years, it's been Heckle and Jekyll with Kyle Lowry, their all-star point guard. That's going to be the key. Can he translate regular season performance? He's averaging 7 3-pointers per game. Can he now play this way in the postseason? This is why, with a straight face, you must pick the Cleveland Cavaliers and what we're seeing from LeBron James. And LeBron James, for those who have not been paying attention, has actually gotten better at basketball. Let me tell you why. He's a better three-point shooter. He's a better free throw shooter. He's averaging a career high in assists. He's played in every game this year. And here's the kicker. LeBron James is now clutch. You remember the last couple of years when it was the first 46 minutes and then he turned it over to Kyrie Irving? Well, now the team is turning it over to LeBron James. And when he gets back Kevin Love, a guy that's going to still give you 20 and 10, to go with the young requisite part. And I disagree with you on something, Max Kellerman. Rodney Hood is a starter in this league. Larry Nance Jr.
I agree with Jalen.
Larry Nance Jr. is a starter in this league. Because when you say that, you got to also flip to the Toronto Raptors. And beyond DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry, you guys didn't name anybody else on the perimeter for that exact same reason. They have some guys that still need some proving ground as well.
Jalen, Rodney Hood and Larry Nance Jr. were not coming from good teams, and they weren't starting on those teams that weren't good. So, yes, I understand what you mean by their starting quality players, kind of, sort of. On certain teams, they can't start depending on what else is around them. But they're not strong, surefire starters.
No.
They are certainly rotation pieces.
Max,
we can all agree.
No,
Rodney Hood has the potential to be. Larry Nance Jr. has the potential to be. Then why weren't they starting on bad teams?
I'm going to pull you behind the curtain, and let me tell you from somebody that played for 6 teams in 13 seasons. When a team knows they're about to trade you, Max, they don't give you as many minutes. They don't give you as many shots. They don't necessarily have to highlight your value because they want the fans, they want your teammates, they want everybody to see that you've been diminished. This is why they're moving you. Rodney Hood, a week before he got traded, had 30 points in the basketball game. Rodney Hood, before he got traded.
Teams want to deflate trade assets?
Listen, when they know they have a deal, you don't have to showcase somebody you know they got a deal. Rodney Hood got traded from Utah because they didn't want to pay him. Larry Nance got traded from the Lakers not because they wanted to let him go. It's because they needed to let him go in order to make the cap space in order to put themselves in position to get 2 deals. Did you see Larry Nance play recently?
Also had,
did you see him just have 20 plus and 10 plus?
And I like Nance. I like Nance a lot. I preferred him to Julius Randle. They also traded him because it was harder to move Randle than it was to move him. They also traded him because they have 2 forwards in Ingram and Kuzma, and they'd like to sign other guys. I understand their extenuating circumstances, and those guys are certainly could be in rotations for any championship team. Starting jobs are bubble starters. They're not surefire starters. Rodney Hood looks like he could eventually be an all-star if everything breaks the right way. He hasn't always played that way. Let's be honest about it.
I got a question for either. Can you name me another player on the Toronto Raptors on the perimeter that you have faith in, not named Lowry or DeRozan?
No, and that is an issue for them. That's an Achilles heel for them. And I agree with that. But the idea that LeBron is playing the best ball of his career on the offensive side, he's playing, I would say, almost as well as he's ever played. And I understand why he feels he's on the top of his game, given his maturity, experience, all those other things. The best ball I've ever seen LeBron play is the 3rd season, 2nd championship in Miami. Was the best LeBron James. He doesn't play defense like that anymore consistently. Even in the playoffs, he's not able to turn it up on every possession defensively. So that's only one side of the floor I believe LeBron is talking about.
I can't wait to see
I don't know if that's enough to get him by Toronto. We got to see Kevin Love.
I just can't wait to see Stephen A. going through customs to Toronto during the conference finals. I can't wait. I can't wait.
No. I might go to Toronto, but make no mistake about it. I will be in H-Town and Oakland for the Warriors and the Rockets. By the way, I will be in H-Town. By the way, by the way, I'll say this. I don't believe that the Houston Rockets can beat Golden State. But I am rooting for them. It's not like I want them to lose. I like H-Town.
Yeah.
I
we
like
know
H-Town.
you do. Oh, we know you do.
No
for a myriad of
mistake.
reasons.
H-Town, NY, DC.
All right. Still to come.
LA.
You watch the show too much.
Miami.
Still to come. Kawhi led